Welcome to the Generation of Jade.
This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Place to Be Nation Wrestling Network. Welcome back to another great episode of Who's Next. Happy New Year, by the way. Also, it's our first pod of 2023, and we've got a lot to talk about because the last time we talked to y'all, it was right before Christmas, and so much has happened, so much has gone down in NXT, and we're going to break it down for you. But who's we? It's not me. It's not I. I cannot do this alone. I have one of the best co-hosts in the business, the Mud Pie, Logan Crosland. Logan, Happy New Year. Hope you had a great holiday, and we're back here talking a little NXT.
Yeah, good New Year. Good start to the year so far, but I'm looking forward to get back into this and talking about some NXT, so let's do it.
Yeah, there's a lot of excitement there. I think a lot of good stuff is coming. I think they really started off the year strong with some great episodes, some kind of new blood into the mix, which is something that we love about NXT. We get a lot of that, and yeah, just I think there's a lot of positives to talk about in this last month or so of TV. Okay, cool. So let's go all the way back to December 20th episode of NXT, and this started with a recap of Roxanne winning the women's title the previous week. And really, we were still kind of reeling a little bit, I think, at the time. What were your feelings once it really sunk in? Because the whole Mandy thing was still kind of an open wound, right? Going into this episode, we had just started getting the facts before we recorded our last episode. So how do you think they handled it? What was the air like, you think, going into this episode?
Yeah, I mean, it still kind of burned. Still kind of didn't feel good that Mandy was gone. I felt good. It felt good for Roxanne. I felt like it was a good moment for her. She really rose to the occasion. Had a great match with her. So it still kind of hurt that Mandy was gone, but I thought it was a good moment for Roxanne, and I think she'll do great as the champion. I'm looking forward to kind of seeing where they first lead her, and we'll kind of get into that as we go. But I'm looking forward to it. But I would love Mandy to still be around. But I understand the circumstances were not ideal. So
I think what has really affected us the most was how sudden it was. Mm-hmm. I had a feeling Roxanne could have been the one to end the title reign, but I didn't think it was going to happen like that quickly. And we were kind of like just in shock, I think. Not about the title loss. I mean, title losses happen all the time. Unexpected booking, you don't know. But then it was really that she was gone the next day. Mm-hmm. That's, I think, what we're really reeling from. So
yeah, exactly.
All right, so the action picks up, and they always start off with a really a good match. So we got Carmelo Hayes versus Axiom. Some highlights from the match. Axiom hits a Hurricanrana off the top rope. That looked pretty impressive. Melo does win with the interference by Trick Williams. Post-match, Axiom hits a moonsault and Trick Williams to the outside. So this match was a banger. This one, these guys were flying all over the place. That top rope, where they're both standing on the top rope, Hurricanrana. I always mess up the pronunciation of that move.
No, you're good.
Yeah, but that, I mean, Mel brings it. That's all. And Axiom has really started. I know you were a little down on him when we first started doing the pod, but his stock is rising in my opinion. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, without a doubt. Axiom continued his little hot streak for me here. I thought he was great in this match, and Carmella is always great. So not a surprise that they had a banger of an opener here for this episode. That top rope Hurricanrana was really cool. And then there was a move where Axiom went through the middle and bottom rope and Carmelo was kind of sitting on in between the top and middle rope, and he kind of just went through it. And while he went through it, he kind of German suplexed him as he kind of dove through. It was really cool looking. So just another cool move to kind of highlight in that one. But yeah, just really great way to open the show. They're really good at doing these kind of quick, fast. It's kind of like the old WCW with the cruiserweights. So it was a good way to open it with the fast, quick pace that these guys can cut.
Yeah, you can definitely feel that. That's a Sean Hunter kind of booking way to go, because we don't, Vince's way was the promo, the thing, the long talking segment to start a show. But then, this, I'm doing the research, catching up, it is always noticing that there's always a hot start to the show, which is really refreshing, I think, and something that really picks it up for me. So then we get Grayson Waller with an interview. He wants his title shot tonight, kind of follows up the way Roxanne called her shot, calls out Braun. I think Grayson Waller, we'll talk about him a lot, kind of been the MVP a little bit of these 5 episodes that we're going to break down. And even if he's not in ring, he's keeping everything moving forward. So really, really great stuff. We get Tony D and Stacks backstage. Tony gets a title shot for the North American title the following week. Grayson Waller is looking for, he's looking for Braun. So continuing on the whole Tony and feud with Wesley. Then we get Nikita Lyons versus Zoe Stark. Zoe Stark tries to attack Nikita during the entrance, but Nikita was expecting it. Zoe ends up rolling her up Nikita for the win while holding the ropes. So this feud has been so to me. Zoe Stark, who is one of those, I equate her, and I probably said this before, like, Ernest the Cat Miller, people like who are good, decent in the ring, and then they become heels and they have a little bit of personality and they get a little bit better. Sometimes they get a lot of bit better, but she hasn't really hit her stride yet, I don't think. And Nikita Lyons, I mean, we do our stock up, stock down, but her stock has dropped. I don't think has gotten anything in terms of like a win or anything in this feud, and her in ring, it has gotten a little sloppier, I think. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, she's definitely degraded, I guess, just gone down a little bit for sure. She was kind of sloppy in this one, and I just feel like they haven't booked her super well. I feel like she could have really used the win here. I don't think Zoe would have been too hurt, especially if it was like kind of a fluke or just out of nowhere or something like that. But I think Nikita probably could have used this win a little bit more than Zoe could. But they kind of give her some revenge in a match we'll talk about later. But the Nikita's booking and how she's gone for the last few weeks, months, just hasn't really lived up to what I thought she could be. Hopefully she'll get things turned around, but we'll see as we go forward.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about NXT. We may come down on people for getting sloppy a little bit, but that's part of the reason why they're there too. They're there to make mistakes so that they don't make them when they get to Raw and SmackDown. People do make mistakes on those shows, but they're more polished by then. They've dealt with the adversity and all that stuff. So yeah, she's going to need some time. She was somebody that I thought was going to rise quickly, and now having a lot of second thoughts on that. So then we go to a Cora Jade interview where she gets attacked by Wendy Cho. Wendy Cho, I always mess that up too. And then we have Fallon, Briggs and Jensen in Fallon's family bar. Kiana walks in, says she paid off the bar's bills and gets the lien on the bar after Jensen, Brooks Jensen slips and tells her about it. Fallon then challenges Kiana to a match for the bar. What do you? It's going to play out over the next few episodes, but what are your thoughts on this Fallon Kiana feud over a bar?
It's interesting for sure. It kind of gives Fallon a little something to fight for. She's just kind of been the manager of Briggs and Jensen. Sorry. Yeah, she's just kind of been their manager. She's had a few matches here and there, but not much character thing. So the fact that her family owns a bar and it kind of gives her something to fight for, I guess, is an interesting thing. It may not be the most natural wrestling angle or anything like that, but it gives this match stakes. Which, if a match has stakes, it's always a little better in my eyes. So I was looking forward to the match that they had the next week.
Yes, that's great point. It also gives them both something to do. It's like they're more than that. These caricatures. Okay, Fallon, let's put some cowboy boots on you and ripped off jean cut off things, and Fallon and Kiana, let's give you glasses and a briefcase. And now they're really starting to hone in on their characters, which has helped. All right, then we go.
Absolutely.
Then we have a match for the NXT Women's Tag Team titles with Toxic Attraction in a three-way. Toxic Attraction, Ivy Nile, and Tatum Paxley versus Carter and Chase. Caden ends up pinning Ivy to retain. Ivy held her at her submission move, but ended up rolling her up. I thought this was a fun match, but the right. Here's the thing: like I watched the match and I'm like, I only see two of these women at the moment getting called up, like anytime soon, or doing something on the main roster, right? Because Toxic Attraction is kind of somewhat out of place down there now, I think, because they were on the cusp of coming up, and I still think they are. I think we're gonna get some stuff with them after on the episodes after the ones we're covering tonight, but Ivy Nile and Tatum Paxley are way a bit of ways from they still need a lot of work in the character. Ivy's in-ring has gotten better, and Chance and Carter, I don't see it translating to the main roster. I just think they're going to get there, get lost in the shuffle, and they're going to be the ones that are going to be the ones jobbing every week. What were you feeling on this match?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you about the translating and the main roster kind of stuff. I thought the match was good. I like the creativeness of the finish because Ivy really had Caden in the submission, and it looked like she was going to fade, and we were going to have new champs. So it leaves that open ended that maybe the Diamond Mine girls will get another shot at Carter and Chance eventually. Like you said, the Toxic Attraction girls are kind of, I don't want to even say aimless because they're featured. Obviously, we'll get into later. They have a big match coming up together. But yeah, I kind of want to see a new leader, maybe, or maybe they just go up by themselves or something to that effect. But they need a little help, I guess I'll say, going forward.
Yeah, I think that's coming too, which we could talk about. Then we get a bunch of packages, and backstage we get an Oro Mensa package, which is good. We start to see a character evolve here, whether it's a character I'm going to like, I'm going to love. It's a character nonetheless. Booker T then interviews Roxanne about her title wins. It was a nice sit-down that we had. Apollo Crews talks about his title match loss at Deadline. Carmelo interrupts and says that he is next in line, and they challenge each other to a match. Then we get New Day backstage, and I really love this here. I popped big time when I don't know if you caught all of these. I actually said that, paused it to write all these down. So Pretty Deadly, wants a title shot, and they told them that they have to get him everything that's on their Christmas list. So they bring them a bunch of presents, and this was on the list: Kamala's mask, Bart Gunn's Brawl for All trophy, Santino's Cobra, Ahmed Johnson's Legion of Doom shoulder pads, Stevie Ray's Slapjack, and the Honky Tonk Man. He was on the list, but taken off. And they couldn't get Nails' prison uniform. Also, at the end, Xavier says he wants Tyler Breeze's selfie stick. I popped big time for this because you could tell that these guys, especially Xavier, loves wrestling. And anytime he gets to do any kind of nostalgia pops, you get it from them. I am really loving this New Day run in NXT, especially with Pretty Deadly. What do you think?
Oh yeah, they have like super insane chemistry with them, so I've enjoyed it so far too. Yeah, and he said he needed the Breeze selfie stick for a thing that he had coming up, so I think that was probably a shout out to his little up down down reunion that he had with Cole and Cesaro and Breeze that they had a couple weeks ago on YouTube. But I like that little shout out. But yeah, just sending them to get all these random items, and they wanted him to get the whole honky tonk man, like the person, and he was like, that was probably a little unrealistic. That would be kidnapping. So, but yeah, just great stuff. Good chemistry between those guys.
Yeah, it is fun. So then we get Alba running into Isla backstage, and she blows red dust into her face, which kind of messes her up. And then we get a clip of last week with Odyssey Jones, Malik, and Idris. They're running to Schism outside. And then Alba is in medical. Grayson is still looking for Braun, going through. Then we get Indy Hartwell versus Elektra Lopez. Elektra end up hiding the brass knuckles in the turnbuckle and uses them to get the win. And then Alba gets cleared by medical. And we get a Wesley interview talking about Tony and Dijak. So let's actually let me say one more thing. So we get Sol Ruca versus Alba Fyre. Alba gets attacked by Isla in a plume of smoke, injures her arm with Alba's bat, so there's no match. So in this whole this whole section of the episode, we're not going to really talk about the Odyssey, Malik, and Idris because we're really, kind of down on those guys. Before we get to the Alba stuff, any thoughts on the Indy Hartwell Elektra Lopez match?
I was sad that it got as little time as it did, but the fact that it was a cheat win, I guess I understand, and it obviously is featuring Elektra as that she's going to use anything she can to get wins and get herself to the top of the division. So that's a good character and way to go there. I'm sad that Indy kind of got somewhat squashed in that. I mean, I think she held her own in the match, but it's sad to see her finally kind of emerge and get into the Iron Survivor match, only to end up driving to Elektra just to kind of feature her. But yeah, it was an all right match, but it was obviously just to propel Elektra forward.
Yeah,
with her new style.
I think they're building something with her, which we will touch on later on. And Indy, I think Indy's kind of in that, she's been there a long time. She's probably ready. She's not going to get thrust up into title matches or anything, but she's good. She could be, like we've talked about, she could be a new member of Damage Control, where they could use a taller girl in that faction to maybe be their enforcer kind of thing. And I can see her in that role. What about the Alba stuff here? With Isla, this is a feud that they keep tempering and every time you think it's like, oh, this is it, that they keep kind of moving it forward even more.
Yeah, I've enjoyed the stuff that they've had together. I would have thought that the last match would have been the ending of it, just because it kind of was definitive and seemed like Isla was won and she was going to move on and kind of do her own thing. But I'm not disappointed to see it go. I thought that match was pretty good for all things considered. So it was good to see. It was good to see it go forward, but I could have seen it ending when we thought it had previously.
Yeah, it's the feud that keeps on giving, I guess. All right, so then we get a backstage with Chase U, where all the students are lined up to give Andre presents. Andre is allergic to fruitcake and yells at one of the students, so half the students get off the line because they all have fruitcakes. Duke then tricks somebody else into giving him this present for Andre, which has a #1 professor plaque. Then we go to Briggs, Jensen, and Fallon with Josh Briggs, Brooks Jensen, and Fallon interview. They get interrupted by Kiana, and I forget the girl's name who's with her. Do you know her name?
I can't remember what her name is. She's just like Kiana's assistant. I can't remember. It starts with a T, I think, but I can't remember what it is.
And and Kiana's there to wish Brooks a good luck building that little thing. And then we get an earlier today clip of Drew Gulak training. Hank Walker is asking him for advice. Then we go on to our main event match for the night is Briggs and Jensen versus the New Day. for the NXT Tag Team titles based on doing the Pledge of Allegiance from the previous episode. New Day wins with a really fun sequence of Poison Rana, then Trouble in Paradise, both by Kofi, and then we get an elbow drop on Briggs by Xavier. So I really did enjoy this match. Again, the New Day has been a real breath of fresh air here in NXT. I think their stay has been a really positive one. It's not like, why are they here? Why? It's just they're here. They're having fun. They're kind of elevating all the people that they're with. So what do you any thoughts on this match?
Yeah, I thought it was a great match. I thought they continued their good streak of matches with these kind of younger teams, showing that they're still one of the best teams in the world. The New Day is, and obviously helping these younger tag teams along. That Briggs and Jensen definitely held their end. I thought it was I just thought it was a really entertaining and good match. Like you said, I'm really enjoying this New Day run so far. I think it's a good move to have them down there. Kind of reinvigorated them a little bit too. I think it makes it. I think you can obviously tell that they're having a ton of fun. So I'm glad that they are down here and they're having these kind of matches with these teams to give them a little bit more experience with a more experienced team. So I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, Briggs and Jensen showed something to me in that match. Both of them, and I've been kind of down on Brooks, so he's really. He's starting to grow on me a little bit, not fully sold yet. Then we got Stacks going to talk to Dijak about keeping off. I can't remember my whole name right on behalf of the Dawn. Then we get a countdown to New Year promo for January 10th. We get Diamond Mine walking the parking lot, and Indus Sher shows up, tells them to show them why they're ready to fight. Then we get Grayson Waller going to the ring and calls out Braun. Braun then shows up, goes to spear Grayson, but Grayson had on a big coat all night, and we know why, because after the spear, Braun seems like he's kind of knocked out a little bit, and he had a metal plate under his coat, and that was the whole trickery by our number one contender, Grayson Waller, and that's how we end the show. So I really like this Grayson Waller stuff here. Kind of enjoying it with because they're prolonging it and they're moving it along slowly to give us that really big payoff that I think we're going to get soon.
Mm-hmm. And he's constantly outsmarting him. It seems like he's always catching him off guard. Obviously, always is one step ahead of him, so that's good to see. Obviously, Braun Breaker drives a Dodge Charger. I mean, him driving up in the muscle car was like the least surprising thing in the history of things. So, but he had been on some they acted like he was on some media tour promoting Vengeance Day, so he wasn't supposed to be there. That's kind of why Waller had been calling him out all night. So he finally shows up, and he was prepared to whether he showed up or not. He had that little ace in the hole with the metal plate, the whole old Goldberg Bret Hart callback from WCW. So good to see them pull that out. And it's good to see that Grayson Waller continues to kind of outsmart the champion.
Yeah, hopefully, Braun doesn't kick him in the head to end his career.
Well, I'm sure he'll talk about it in books and podcasts for the rest of his life if he does so.
All right, so that concludes that episode. So we move on to NXT that aired on December 27th. This is actually taped. So they can give everybody that nice holiday break for Christmas, and it opens up with JD McDonough versus Julius Creed, and we get Julius winning after a hard fought match. Could it be that JD is heading out of NXT? Indus Sher comes out and challenges them to a match at New Year's Evil, which is just the subtitle of the next week's episode. This was kind of a big win for Julius Creed. Like we talked about how they starting off the shows with a good match, and this one was no different. But this is the only time I think we see JD in this all the episodes we're going to talk about tonight. Do you agree that you think that he could be done in NXT?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like they might be phasing him out. I don't know. I was very surprised to see him lose this match. I figured it would be he would win by some kind of interference like he kind of did the previous time these two fought. But it's a big win for Julius, like you said. Another great match. Like I said, like we always say, McDonough's awesome. He can pretty much get a good match out of pretty much anybody. So, but Julius is definitely the better in-ring guy of the Creed so far, I would say. Not that Brutus is all that bad, but I think Julius is definitely the alpha of the team, for sure. But yeah, just another great match to open this up. Very surprising result, I'd say. But we'll see where JD goes from here. I don't, like you said, I don't think we see him again, but hopefully he's not gone from this world of NXT yet. But we'll see.
Yeah, maybe he could show up. It's just there are guys or girls that you see and then you don't see them again for a little while because there's only so much TV that they have. So it is within the realm of possibility. But we'll talk about him maybe later on as well. So we get a Tony D interview. Stax tells him he took care of Dijak last week. Then we get a Schism promo on Odyssey, Idris, and Malik. Then we get Cora Jade versus Wendy Chu. Wendy is very aggressive and extremely pissed in this match. Wendy ends up winning with a full Nelson slam. I really like the fire that Wendy shows in this. Cora, I don't know what they're doing with Cora right now. Is she maybe treading water at the moment? Because she's kind of been doing some really great character stuff, but she has not been winning at all. So, what are your thoughts on this one?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of confusing. You would think she would be a natural first kind of person to face Roxanne. So, kind of weird to see her lose this match. I mean, obviously it's good. It kind of writes itself because Wendy Chu had kind of gotten taken advantage of with her old cup water or whatever was in the cup in the face in the last match. Cora kind of took advantage with that. But yeah, you would like to kind of see Cora maybe get the win here and kind of propel herself forward to a title match. But maybe they're going to keep this going. Maybe they'll have a more kind of hardcore kind of match at a premium live event or one of these special episodes of NXT that they have every now and then. But you would think Cora might be going for the title, and honestly, after Vengeance Day, she might be the person that ends up being the number one contender. But definitely a weird result here. But it's good to see Wendy kind of get her revenge at the same time. Yeah,
Cora seems like maybe she'll be lurking always around it, I guess. Because she's somebody that I think, she's young, she's got plenty of time, but she's somebody I could see, having a run this year with the title, and maybe, by this time next year, she could be up on the main roster.
Yeah, sure.
So we get Ikemen Jiro gives a promo about his jacket and scripts. We get Fallon getting ready backstage with Briggs and Jensen. Jensen has a new fancy shirt. Then we get Jiro versus Scripps. Scripps enters from behind in the ring. Scripps wins with a well-hit flipping sit-down splash, lays the jacket on Jiro. I like Jiro. Don't get me wrong. I think his character is a bit ridiculous. But then we get Scripps, who we haven't been that all up on. So what do you think of this one? This was a decent high-flying match for what it was.
Yeah, it was a decent, exactly what you said. It's a decent match for what it was. Jiro's obviously definitely a lower card kind of guy. He's not going to get too many wins, and if he does, it'll be surprising when it does happen. I think he beat old Big Body Javi a couple weeks ago, so he has gotten a win in the podcast history so far. So, and Scripps, still kind of low on him. I still think the whole outfit's stupid. The calligraphy character is dumb, but I will say he hits one hell of a Molly go round. That move is pretty sick, and he hits it pretty proficiently. So I'll give him that at least. But I'm still just not really caring about the whole character and the whole thing. So
his in ring is good. It's the outfit. It's the Scripps as a character does not seem like a heel character.
Yeah, exactly.
It's more of a babyface gimmick to me. Do you think Kushida leaving was like the biggest, one of the worst things that could have happened to Jiro? Because they were starting to build Jacket Time up. I didn't love the name, but I kind of liked them as a tag team. Do you think that was really, they're going to have to figure out, kind of similar to what happened with Wes Lee, where they had to figure out, what his place is going to be? Do you think they'll figure out what to do with this guy at some point? Like, I really don't want to see Yoshitatsu 2.0 with him. He seems really good, and he's got a great personality. But I think Kushida leaving, they just kind of don't know what to do with him now.
Yeah, I could get that, but I think Jacket Time only had a ceiling of so far at the same time, so I think he's kind of where he would be anyways. He's kind of he's mostly a comedy kind of guy, so he has his place, and he'll always have a spot on TV. They'll always kind of use him to put over the next guy, and he's good at doing that. So yeah. Maybe he'll catch on. Maybe he'll get a character, or he'll evolve himself to a point where maybe he'll catch on a little bit more. But I think his ceiling is about where he's at right now. Just the language barrier. Just I don't know. He's small. I don't, unless they do like a revamped cruiserweight division or something like that at some point. I don't really see him going much further.
Yeah. Not like I think Jacket Time would have been like a top tag team. It's just there are so few like tag teams, so to speak, I guess these days in NXT, that they would have been somebody like that would be out there against the Gallus, against another team like coming in, and they would have been on TV a bit more, I think, and would have put on.
You go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's okay. No. I was pretty much done.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and maybe they could get like a sneak title reign like maybe the Vaudevillains did back in the day. They didn't hold the belts for very long, but they kind of snuck up and won the titles from Blake and Murphy, I think. So, they could have played that kind of role. And Kushida probably would have come out of that and been a heel and probably could have gotten a little higher than Jiro could have, but I don't know.
Yeah, what could have been? Who knows? So then we get another Oro Mensah package, similar to the one we had last week. We get an Alba Fyre promo on Isla Dawn after the attack from last week. He challenges her to an anything goes match, Extreme Resolution. And we get Lash Legend versus Lyra Valkyria. Valkyria wins with was basically a glorified squash after a roundhouse kick and a top rope splash. I really like Valkyria. I mean, one thing is that a lot of the top women are on the smaller side, it seems like, these days in NXT. I really like her. I love her kick. I think she needs a different finisher, though. But that's the only real negative I could say. Like, somebody that size with a splash for the finisher. I know she's supposed to be all about flying and coming from the sky and all that stuff, but I think they need to figure something else out with her in terms of, like, what her finisher is going to be. What do you think of this one?
Yeah, I was just say that was the one thing that really stuck out to me. It was a solid match, it was obviously a squash match to get her over, but I got the feeling when she dives off the top rope, she kind of looks like a kid, like jumping into a pool, like just kind of throwing her arms out and just kind of flopping into the pool, So she definitely probably needs to find a new finisher. I mean, that one's easy to hit on anybody of any size, I guess. So that's a good reason to have it. But like I said, when I rewatched this episode today, and that's all I could think of when she did it, was like she was a kid, like jumping off the side of the pool and barely got any hang time. So definitely needs to come up with something different in that area for sure. Yeah,
like a leg drop or an elbow or knee, a flying knee, something with a little more impact to it. I don't know if I've talked about it, how much I'm not the biggest Darby Allin fan, just saying. And that's what it like reminds me of, like Darby Allin with his drops. It's like, okay, it's like a feather fell on me, I just I love this girl too. I really she's hitting it out of the gate, but she just needs a better finisher, like something that's a little more believable or hard hitting, so to speak. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, then we get a Toxic Attraction promo package, basically addressing the Mandy situation without mentioning her. Then we get Schism versus Odyssey, Malik, and Idris. Coming up, we get a Braun interview where he wants revenge on Grayson Waller, who is actually back in Australia. and we get the 6-man match where Schism wins. They kind of dominate on it. I don't love these guys. Odyssey, was out for a while, so give him the benefit of the doubt. But Blade and Nobe, right? Sloppy, and they're not connecting with me character wise. But on the other hand, I'm kind of digging Schism, the whole four roots, one tree thing. It's really they're coming into their own as a faction, and I'm enjoying their stuff. What do you say about that?
Yeah, this is a tale of two different teams. Like Schism's kind of getting it all together. They're getting along as a team. They're definitely they're definitely building to something that they're doing well in the ring. Their segments are going really well. So, and then you have the other side where I think it just continues to kind of just be aimless, and that they're not really connecting with anything. Blade is continually sloppy and doesn't really seem very confident in the ring with himself. We kind of talked about that last episode. But I think Odyssey definitely needs to break out of this, because I think he has some upside, but these other two guys are probably going to be the team that gets squashed by every other team that exists in NXT. So, and that's probably where they should be and should stay until they kind of improve a little bit. But I think Schism's definitely headed in the right direction. I think most of their stuff has hit with me lately. So, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So then we get Carmelo and Trick interview. They cut a promo on Apollo and Axiom, basically. And we get Fallon Henley versus Kiana James in the battle for the bar. I thought both ladies wrestled a really good match. Fallon wins after Kiana hurts her ankle, and she gets hit with the running kick. Jensen is conflicted, though, about Kiana taking the loss and Fallon taking the win. What do you think of the result here? You think it was the right call, the right direction to go in?
It could have been stretched out a little bit further. I think, Kiana could have won, and maybe they had another match later down the line when, Fallon saw what Kiana did with the bar, something like that. But I mean, her winning the bar and getting it back in her family's name and honor and all that kind of stuff was good to see. Kind of good for her to get a win finally. I feel like they faced each other about a month ago, and Kiana won the match, and that's kind of what propelled her into the Iron Survivor match. So it was good to see Fallon get a win back and win her family's bar. But I do think this could have been extended a little bit further.
Yeah. There's definitely, this is playing out into a direction I didn't think it was going to go in, that we're going to see over the next few episodes. So I'm kind of curious to see where this is going to go.
Mm-hmm.
So we get a Roxanne interview, basically a babyface champ type thing like you'd see from somebody like her, the underdog. Then we get an Isla Dawn package on Alba Fyre. Then we get the Drew Gulak Invitational, where Drew is with Hank Walker and a bunch of younger guys that we really haven't seen on TV. Maybe we've seen one of them on Level Up or not. I'm not sure. You watch Level Up more than I do, it seems. He does a demonstration of a chicken wing. Then we get a leg lock almost, and then they get a guillotine body scissors. Drew gets a little more heelish as it goes. Then Charlie Dempsey comes out, challenges Drew to take on Hank next week. I'm thinking Drew Gulak is the new Timothy Thatcher, I guess, that they were trying to do probably, about a year and a half ago or so. Mm-hmm. I mean, I like Drew Gulak. He's a guy that, his the thing that's held him back has been his I guess his character work. But here I'm kind of liking him. And Charlie Dempsey always looks like a guy that just shot whiskey. He's got that, when you take that shot back of whiskey or bourbon, and you got that thing with your teeth, like that. That's what Charlie Dempsey always looks like to me. Like he just shot whiskey before coming out. But I like this guy. He's like a throwback. I'm curious to see where they go with him. And what are your thoughts on Drew Gulak being down here doing this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think Gulak has had some good character stuff in the past, back in the 205 Live days when he was like the
Oh,
for
his
a better
PowerPoints.
205, yeah, all his PowerPoints and his for a better 205 Live or whatever. He was like the or the politician kind of character.
Mhm.
I always enjoyed that. So, I think he can do the character stuff. I just think he's kind of boring in the ring,
Yeah.
which he's entertaining to some people. I mean, if you're more into the technical like hold style, it's that could be somebody's thing.
Like leg
That's
work,
just
like
yeah, just a lot
limb
of
work. Sorry, limb work.
lot of
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of limb work, a lot of just submissions and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, it can be entertaining, but he just needs to be in there with the right guys, I guess. But I'm interested to see where this whole Hank Walker Charlie Dempsey thing. I think poor Hank is going to end up on the wrong side of this one eventually. So but Charlie's I've really enjoyed Charlie and all of the stuff he's done in the ring so far. So interested to see where he goes going forward.
All right. And then we get the main event of the night, which is North American title match, Wesley versus Tony D'Angelo. Solid match, in my opinion. Tony D is another guy that really is starting to come into his own. The injury happened, unfortunate time, but he's definitely this whole Don thing, and also losing Dimes, right? Is the other guy 2 Dimes or whatever his name was? I kind of think he needed another guy, but I like what they've been doing with Stacks. But Dijak comes out, attacks Stacks, and then distracts Tony. West gets the win with the black flip kick, which he hit really well. What did you think of the close of the show here with this main event?
Yeah, it was a good match. Good to see Wesley retain here. Tony D definitely looked good in defeat. I feel like he dominated most of the match. He kind of held his own. Lee was selling for most of the match, so that's probably the best way with these bigger guys and in a match with him is the way they should probably go. Dijak obviously causing the distraction that kind of led to Lee beating D'Angelo obviously means that we're probably headed towards some kind of multi-man match with the three of them going forward. So, but yeah, it was an enjoyable match, and like you said, I think D'Angelo's trending in a good direction in the ring because I think that was kind of his weak point as he started out with a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. When 2.0 started, it was like, oh, look at all these characters, and then it was they kind of did like the reverse. Like we have these people with their characters. The in ring came later. Usually it's the opposite. When it's like, oh, they have the in ring. Now we got to give them a character. Like it's interesting to see, and I'm enjoying the evolution of a lot of these men and women. So it's been fun. A highlight for me is when you see a guy or a girl that you were kind of down on a couple months ago, and they starting to really put it together, and it's nice to see. It's really fun for me.
Yeah, but the D'Angelo family definitely needs to grow. I think they definitely need another guy. I don't know who that would be or where it would come from, but I definitely think they need to add to the family.
Yeah, they maybe need a woman in there too. All right, so we get to the next episode of NXT, which aired on January 3rd. Starts off with a 2022 highlight package with all the title changes, new arrivals, big moments, and heel turns. And our opening match is Carmelo Hayes versus Apollo Crews. This was a tremendous match. Melo gets the win after a code breaker and then his leg drop. He didn't hit the leg drop, though, as well. though.
Yeah.
And then we get, Axiom coming in and attacking Trick and Melo post-match. Then that leads into Trick Williams versus Axiom. Axiom wins with the golden ratio kick. Trick did look better, though, in this loss. Melo and Trick then attack Axiom post-match, and Apollo makes the save. This was a really great start to the episode. We had one great match, one good match, and, Melo, he didn't miss, but he didn't miss completely. How about that? You could kind of see on his face too. He's not used to that happening to him too. You could kind of see it on his face, but they recovered well, and the production showed the right angle. So what are your thoughts on the start of this episode?
Yeah, Mello don't miss, but he did graze on this one.
Yeah.
He barely caught the chrome dome of Mr. Cruz. But yeah, another really solid match from Carmelo. Apollo obviously held his in as well, but Carmelo continues to stand out. Have these opening match bangers that kind of start these episode out. So really enjoyed that. I kind of liked that it transitioned straight into the Axiom Trick Williams match. They had a pretty good contest as well, obviously to kind of put Axiom over and maybe to lead to a tag match in a future week between these four. But yeah, Trick Williams definitely held his own in that match, but Axiom got the win with his golden ratio. So yeah, just another solid and awesome start to another episode. So for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we get the New Day backstage. They're still trying to make Pretty Deadly get them stuff, including the Big Boss Man's nightstick. Yeah, it's and then Schism shows up. Great banter between the New Day and Schism here. We get Kofi challenging Joe Gacy to a match. Then we get a recap of the North American title match from last week. Stax was taken by Dijak. He gets interrogated while handcuffed, and Dijak ends up leaving him with the key. Stax does not give up the Dawn. And then we get Chase U training with Drew Gulak. Andre confronts Drew and shuts it down right away. So some interesting packages, backstage stuff. Again, we talked about the New Day on the last episode. We talked about Schism. This was really fun. Kofi has got like a breath of fresh air, I guess, some new life to him. And Gacy holds his own, and Schism, they look like they belong, basically. Because I've said, the formerly grizzled young vets, I think they were ready to come up, and I think they're elevating Gacy, so to speak, as being part of his faction. And then I always heard what is Rockstar's name these days?
Ava Raine.
Ava Raine. She's doing okay. She's coming along. She's not overreaching. She's staying, in her, I guess her where she's supposed to. In other words, yeah, she's not. She's playing her part. She's doing okay. And then we get the the Stacks Dijak stuff. What were you thinking when you saw this stuff?
Yeah. I thought Schism held their own in the backstage segment. New Day's obviously really good at these little backstage segments where they can kind of make fun of the other team, but also be serious and kind of challenge them to a match at the same time. Kofi and Gacy is a match that I was definitely interested in seeing when it was kind of made in the backstage right there. I think New Day actually compares Schism to like Texas Chainsaw Massacre extras or something like that. I think that's what they say at some point. I thought that was a pretty good one-liner. But the whole interrogation thing with Dijak and Stax was obviously to set up a match and to continue the whole rivalry between Dijak and D'Angelo. So that was good to see continue. And the match, Dijak just kind of beats the crap out of him just a little bit more than he was already beat the crap out of because he comes out with a black eye already. So Dijak pretty much squashes him. So, but good to see Dijak being shown as a strong presence going forward.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it was a one-sided semi-squash. Dijak, hits the slingshot into I guess a GTS type move, and then we get the post-match challenge from Tony to get that. We get an Oro Mensah interview. It gets interrupted by our favorite Big Body Javi, who is pimping his Christmas album, Feliz Navidad. Of course, it's after Christmas. And then we get a Toxic Attraction in-ring promo about the new year. They blamed all their problems on Roxanne Perez. Then we get Indy interrupting, followed by Cora Jade, followed by Nikita Lyons, followed by Zoe Stark, Wendy Chu, and then Thea Hale, who says, "Let's brawl!" And the entire women's locker room empties. And that includes Alba and Isla Dawn fighting. Roxanne then comes out and announces that the number one contender Battle Royal for the title shot at Vengeance Day is next week. So, forgot to say, this is also was under titled New Year's Evil. So I I loved it. Well, okay, first of all, forget about the big body hobby stuff. I don't, the less we talk about him, the better we are. If you want to talk about him, you can. But I really, this is one of my probably, out of all the segments, this is probably my favorite. It gave the women's division a lot of shine. It was a crazy brawl. I love them all coming in the crowd, kind of shit talking each other. You know, Roxanne came off okay, like, you know, a little, you know, kind of like, you know, kind of a goody little girlish a little bit, but I did enjoy all of them kind of like calling each other out. And then Thea just is like the nut bar that you just throw like blood in the water and like, you know, the shark starts just swirling, going to a frenzy. Yeah. Did you like this as much as I did?
Yeah, I enjoyed seeing all the different girls emerge in the crowd. They kind of each, there's like, you know, stairs all around the arena. So like one popped up from one side, the other one then they were constantly chirping at each other, and, you know, Thea coming out and saying, "Girl, fight!" And they all kind of go at it. Was a good way to set up the battle royal that we'll have for the next week for the number one contendership. But yeah, I enjoyed the segment for sure, and the big body Javi disrespect is just appalling. I can't believe you. I'm just kidding. I'm just playing.
Logan's got jokes tonight. All right. Then they continue on with Alba and Isla fighting. They brawl, you know, backstage. Then they go outside. They go into the warehouse, and it actually starts their Extreme Resolution match. And it was a crazy fun brawl. These girls beat the snot out of each other, basically.
I sure did.
Alba ends up missing a swanton. I think she was supposed. I don't know. She misses a swanton into the table. Kind of nicks her a little bit, similar to Mello. Not a little bit, hits it a little bit better, but then ends up pushing Isla through the table and then gets the win. This was crazy, I thought. And again, you think it's over, but this I was kind of surprised Alba got the win here as well. What were you thinking here?
Yeah, I was surprised Alba got the win for sure. I think I texted the main group chat that we're all in the night that this happened. The brawl before the match was just amazing. Like they went everywhere. They beat the crap out of each other. They hit each other with all kinds of weapons, 2x4s, chairs. They were just going wild, and then they eventually just ring the bell and start the, you know, falls count anywhere, anything goes extreme resolution match that they had. I thought they beat the crap out of each other. I really enjoyed it. Like you said, she hits the swanton on the table, and I guess she just didn't hit her hard enough for the table to break, because I think that was what was supposed to happen. But then she goes back and hits the gory bomb through the table, and it actually does break that time. So, yeah, just an awesome brawl. These two girls beat the crap out of each other, and it was really enjoyable to see. I really enjoyed this one.
So then we get a Grayson Waller interview. He cuts a promo on Braun. We get an inside look at the Indus Sher Creed Brothers feud, and then we get Oro Mensah versus Javier Bernal. That was just set up a little earlier. Javi attacks Oro in the aisle. Oro wins with a spinning heel kick into the corner. I mean, I think the guy is okay. I mean, he's still relatively new. Javi's not bad in the ring. First of all, you know, we don't hate his in ring. He's not bad, but he's, I guess, what we got to try to say, he's not a Santino Morello, but like he's a guy, I guess, that's going to be annoying, that you love to hate, and he's going to go out there, he's going to put on a decent match, but he's going to lose every time. Right? Is that kind of what you're getting with him? And what do you think of Mensah in the ring? Because we have seen him. This is not his in-ring debut, but his first, like, I guess, has a character now.
Yeah, I mean, I think heel Santino is probably a good good comparison for big body Javi. I think he's good in the ring. I don't hate his backstage segments maybe as much as you do. But Oro Mensah is an NXT UK guy. He was mostly a tag guy when he was there, so he's probably just kind of still trying to find his footing as a singles guy, but he looks good so far. I mean, he's been in a couple squashes, and then he was in that North American title ladder match, but, you know, that's with 5 other guys, so, you know, it's hard for one to really stand out if they don't win. So, but I think he'll be all right. He was pretty good in that tag team that he was in UK. So it'll be interesting to see how he is going forward.
All right. So we get Briggs and Jensen and Fallon backstage. Kiana shows up to congratulate Fallon on her winning the match last week. She flirts with Brooks Jensen. Then we get NXT Anonymous showing Carter and Chance at Medical. I don't know. NXT Anonymous, I get like, my skin kind of crawls when I see these things, because do they ever really pan out, to something that we're happy with, that we're satisfied with? I mean, where do you think they're going to go with this NXT Anonymous?
I'm assuming it's going to be a new person. I don't know who or what, or whether it's a girl or a guy. It's kind of like the old GTV thing that they did in the Attitude Era that was supposed to eventually, I think, be Goldust, but they never really panned it out. It just kind of disappeared and stopped happening at some point. So, like you said, these kind of things don't tend to really work out or be much of anything. I kind of think this is a little similar to the whole Scripps, like when he was coming in before he debuted. It's very similar to that. Maybe he wasn't like focusing in on people like in the backstage when they're not aware that they're being videoed, but it's kind of similar in the way that they talk and kind of the creepy like riddles that they speak in or whatever. So
didn't they do something a few years ago similar to this, like a?
I want to say so, yeah.
Yeah, it was like I'm trying. Yeah, I can't put my finger on it, but I'm seeing a little imagery in my head. So we'll try to look that up for everybody and see if we can find that. So Andre Chase versus Drew Gulak. Drew wins via submission, doesn't release the hold right away. Then we get Wesley interview, talks about Dijak and Tony G. Then we get Kofi Kingston versus Joe Gacy in a pretty solid match. Again, Joe Gacy is another guy like Tony D, where he his in-ring is getting better, and Schism tries to interfere, but Xavier stops him. Kofi gets the win with Trouble in Paradise. And we get Drew Gulak with Hank backstage, and Hank is a little kind of like taken aback by the way Drew is been acting, and they get confronted by Charlie Dempsey. So, I don't know. On the other side, though, Andre Chase is a guy, I don't know, he's starting to kind of wane on me a little bit. Like his act is now that I'm like watching these shows a little more intently, I'm trying to figure out where they're going to end up with this guy, and it's kind of like I kind of want the whole thing with Duke to kind of play out finally, and I think Thea is fine in the role here, but Andre, he just gets pissed off and swears a lot, really. It reminds me of some of my teachers from high school, I guess, but it's something that I don't know. I'm starting to see holes in it, maybe. And then, what do you think of this match? And what did you think of the Kofi versus Joe Gacy match?
I thought the Chase Gulak match was pretty good. It wasn't anything special. Obviously, the story was at the end of the match where Gulak kind of held in his submission a little too long after the match, obviously showing that he may go heel at some point, even though he's not really a face now. He's kind of a tweener. They're trying to, we as viewers are trying to kind of figure out where he's going to go forward. But yeah, I get your hesitancy with Mr. Chase, but and I'm kind of with you. I kind of want to see this whole Duke Hudson thing kind of play out wherever it's going to go, however it's going to go. But I mean, I still enjoy it. I still enjoyed the swearing, random swearing on how they beep it out and all that kind of stuff. So I do enjoy that for the most part. But I am kind of ready to see the whole thing play out with Duke. And the Kofi Gacy match was good. Like you said, I think Gacy kind of took a step forward, showed that he could hang with Kofi in this one. I won't say I was taken aback that Kofi won, but this would have been a nice spot to kind of see maybe Gacy get some help from Schism and sneak one out, so maybe they could get a title shot down the line. But Kofi winning obviously pushes that forward and kind of sets them up for continuing the thing with Pretty Deadly, and maybe that'll lead to another match with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think what happens on NXT with the New Day, I think, does not affect their standing or their booking. up on the main roster, right? In my eyes, at least when I see that, because they don't when they do appear on the main roster, they don't have the NXT tag titles with them, correct?
I think they've had him in some backstage segments when they come out to the ring. I don't think so.
Okay, all right. So then we get Pretty Deadly backstage, and we get sorry, I'm trying to read my notes. To the New Day after they finally get fed up with the New Day after the Wild Goose Chase. They say they're going to run the gauntlet next week by beating 3 of the best tag teams NXT has to offer. And then we close the show with the Grayson Waller Effect talk show. Braun Breaker is the guest. It ends with Braun basically punching Grayson, power slamming him, and then a top rope sopecita on him. Basically, Braun gets his revenge for the whole metal plate thing here, extending this feud even further. Again, talking about Grayson Waller, he is so damn good on the mic and such the guy you love to hate. So he's really been the star of this feud so far. What do you think of the Pretty Deadly, proclamation and finally getting fed up with the New Day, and then the Grayson Waller Effect segment?
Yeah, it was good to see Pretty Deadly kind of show some balls, like say, "Hey, this is done. We're going to run the gauntlet next week, and we're going to get our title shot back." So it was good to kind of see that, to see them kind of step up for themselves. Grayson Waller continues. He just the thing he's trying to do in this whole segment is kind of get under Braun's skin and kind of make him snap, because he thinks if he can get him on that like more emotional side, he'll be a little bit more susceptible to maybe a sneak roll up or a sneak something that he can pull out on him in the match. So he's just constantly trying to get under his skin, and Breaker does a good job of trying to keep his emotions in check. I think he eventually mentions his dad, and that's what makes him kind of snap. But it was good to see the champ finally get on top, and maybe I don't think he necessarily outsmarted him, but he kind of overpowered him in this segment and ended up on top. So it was good to see that going into New Year's Evil the next week.
Yeah. Well, Waller knows that he'll never outpower Braun. That he's got to play the mental game and the quickness. Even though Braun is really quick for a guy his size, it was really good to see to Braun getting the upper hand this time. So lots of fun way to close the show. Then we go to the next episode, which was January 10th. This was New Year's Evil. Sorry, I misspoke earlier about the previous episode. It opens with Chase U promoting the show ahead of us. Then we get Tony D versus Dijak and a number 1 contender for the North American title. This was a really fun brawl. I'm enjoying Dijak and his return to NXT. Thank God they got that Fakakta mask off him and gave him somewhat of his name back. Stacks ends up getting handcuffed in the corner, and then he gets into the ring to step in front and protect the Don. Tony pushes him out of the way to protect him, tells him that he's not his boss, he's family. Dijak ends up winning with a big boot. I am literally digging this Stacks Tony stuff, and this was a nice fight, and it's really the character stuff here with these guys has really been really great. The right guy, I think, does win in this situation now, because Dijakovic never held a title during his previous run at NXT, and I think he's due to have a run at some point. I'm not saying it's going to be in the next month or so, but he's definitely a guy that's going to have gold before long down in NXT. What do you think of the start of this episode?
Yeah, I definitely think you're right, and this continues another good opener for us. This one a little bit more clunky, but it's kind of a brawl between 2 bigger guys, so you kind of expect that somewhat with 2 bigger guys going at it. But yeah, the whole evolution of D'Angelo and Stacks' kind of relationship, and how D'Angelo kind of sacrifices himself, even though Stacks was trying to do the same for him towards the end of the match, and that it kind of ends up what costing him. I never would have thought that maybe we would get the face turn from the D'Angelo family here, but I don't even know if that's really what it is, but it seems that they're kind of going more towards a face character for these guys going forward, with Dijak obviously being like the killer heel kind of guy. So I'm interested to see where D'Angelo and Stacks kind of go from here. But solid match. Like you said, I think the right guy won. Honestly, I probably think Dijak's going to take the belt from West when they had that match. So, but yeah, another solid opener.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, then we get a Toxic Attraction interview. Then we follow that with the Creed Brothers versus Indus Sher, but only Sangha comes out. Veer is not there. And all of a sudden, from behind, it's time to not hinder Jinder. Jinder Mahal attacks the Creeds from behind. Sangha and Jinder beat down the Creeds. Jinder said Veer and Saga fight for respect, but he doesn't. I don't know. I kind of popped for Jinder returning to NXT. He's a guy that I think needs to be in a faction, needs to be part of a group to be a little more successful. And what I like about him coming down is that I think we're getting we're going to run the danger though of getting faction heavy, because there are a few factions in the main roster. There's factions possibly coming back together. But, Jinder getting the, involved with Indus Sher, maybe, they get Shanky some seasoning and make him a little tougher looking than looking like this giant, overgrown baby face. I kind of like Jinder being down there because it's a nice dichotomy where Veer and Sangha are these tough guys, and they're heels, but they're kind of respectable. They're gentleman heels, I guess, so to speak. And you have Jinder's just like, I'm just gonna fuck you up. I don't give a shit. I'm just gonna beat you down. What are your thoughts on Jinder returning here and this and him? Because what is all going on with Veer? Like, is he really that hurt where he can't wrestle? Is this all storyline?
I think it's partially storyline. I do think he has some concussion issues that he's working through, something to that effect that I've read online or something like that. But it's a good spot for Jinder for sure. He's not really doing much on the main roster or next to nothing. He's probably one of those that's on main event every week, or some of those C shows or whatever you want to call them that aren't as watched by a lot of people. Maybe the diehards like me will check them out every now and then. But it's a good spot for Jinder. He can be that experienced leader that these two guys can kind of lean on for advice and stuff like that. I really want to finally see this tag match that they've been building towards. So I hope Veer gets healthy or whatever he has heals up fairly quickly. But definitely think it's a good spot for Jinder to kind of be the leader of this new Haas Indian faction.
We haven't talked about this guy at all for a while. What does this bring Roddy Strong back? Is he hurt? Is he just sitting out his contract? They just have nothing for him? Is he a guy that they're gonna, maybe be, we'll talk about later, a surprise entrant in the Rumble? Like, who knows? But is this maybe to even the odds a little bit with Jinder now being with Veer and Sangha? Does that bring forth the return of Roddy?
Yeah, this could definitely bring Roddy back. I think they could, the Creed brothers could see we're outnumbered, so we need to get our leader, our head guy back, the head of Diamond Mine, back in the fold and help us out with these three guys. Maybe they do eventually have the tag match, and Jinder kind of causes the win for Indus Sher or something to that effect, and that's what kind of brings Roddy back. They need that third guy to kind of even the odds. So I think Roddy's probably just healing up injuries that he's had throughout the years that he's just kind of ignored. Probably got a couple of things worked on, and he'll be back before too long. Maybe he's helping in the PC a little bit too, while he's recuperating through that. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if that's kind of what brings him back.
All right, very good. So then, because there was no match, the New Day come back to see the Pretty Deadly and tells them that they're next. The Pretty Deadly thinking they have like 15 minutes. And then we get Sangha and Jinder walking backstage. Valentina Feroz confronts Sangha about his actions. Elektra then tells Valentina that she's got to learn to fight for herself. Then, so let's pause for a second. So Valentina, she loses her tag team partner. I am kind of, we're going to see a little more of this too later on. But again, she's her character still needs to get worked on. but I don't want to say that maybe Elektra is doing a female Legado, so to speak, in the works, but I kind of like that she's kind of planting seeds here for Valentina. I'm kind of glad that get them kind of away from each other. Her and Sangha. I was kind of like done with Sangha being like this, I don't know, the philosophizer or something, whatever you want to call him, backstage. But what are your thoughts on this character stuff, real quick?
Yeah, it's good to see maybe Elektra kind of creating a female Legado kind of stable going forward. I think that's definitely where this is headed. I think Yulissa Leon, which is Valentina's tag team partner that got hurt. Maybe when she comes back, they can be the new toxic attraction on the female side. The three-headed monster that can kind of overtake the women's division and dominate. Going forward, or whenever Yulissa is able to come back. But I definitely like seeing that the seeds are being planted for maybe a possible new lady group.
Okay. Yep. Then we get Pretty Deadly running the gauntlet, and the Rockers music hits, and two jobbers come out. Again, the Rockers music is one of those songs that I will pop for every time I hear it, because I love the Rockers back in the day, before they split up. But this was pretty fun here. They of course Pretty Deadly squashes them. Then the New Day comes out, and they bring out Inoue and Blade to face Pretty Deadly. Again, not great stuff here from those two. Pretty Deadly wins with a reverse small package. Then New Day tries to bring out Briggs and Jensen, but they've been laid out backstage, and Gallus music hits, and the place kind of pops big time for it. And it's Mark Coffey and Wolfgang come out, and they beat down Pretty Deadly. It's pretty one-sided. So a couple of things here. I did enjoy this whole segment, with the exception of the Blade and Inoue, but I would have liked to have seen like one more joke team come out, maybe like Demolition's music hit or something like that, just to give that thing there instead of those two. The return of Gallus, I'm guessing all the visa issues have been sorted out for a lot of these people, and Gallus got a pretty good reaction here coming back. So, and I think they're the team right now. I think we're going to talk about them when we get to the end of the next episode. But I enjoyed this segment, except for, again, the two guys we don't like. But I think Pretty Deadly, though, is also really stepped up the last few weeks. So where were your thoughts on this gauntlet segment?
Yeah, like you said, I kind of popped for the Rockers music going off. Obviously, I knew it wasn't going to be Sean and Marty, or even Al Snow and Marty from the New Rockers fame. But I think they named one of the guys like Slammin' Jammin' Jimmy Jackson or something like that. Yeah. I think that was one of the guys' names. But yeah, that was obviously a little squash. I think Inoue and Blade looked a little better in this, but I think that was probably Pretty Deadly bringing them up to their level. Obviously, but yeah, Gallus got a pretty good pop. I was somewhat excited to see them back. They're not my favorite. They were never really my favorite in NXT UK. They're just another one of those real technical, hard-nosed kind of strike style, which could be good in some situations. I like the tag team of Mark and Wolfgang better than I do Joe as the singles, because they always kind of pushed him as like one of the top aces, and he seemed to either always lose or he was just always at the top, and I was just never super impressed with him. But I think the tag team has some legs, and I'm interested to see where they go going forward.
Yeah, I'm excited to see them. I wish I could have seen more of them in NXT UK. It was something that I always wanted to get around to, but I never really got to watch it too much. So then we get the Creeds in medical. Ivy is again trying to stop Julius from challenging Jinder, and then we get Carmelo Hayes at the diner, kind of similar to what Apollo was doing. Trick is there with a mask on. Then we get the countdown to New Year's, which is revealed, and it's the return of Tiffany Stratton. And I'm just going to say a couple of things look different if you know what I mean. All right, because I don't know if she was really injured, but definitely looks like she's had some work done, so to speak. The whole Ivy thing,
a little more buxom.
Yeah, she's a bit more buxom. She's somebody I was high on anyway, though. Before she went out, so I'm glad to see her back because there is going to be, I think, turnover soon, especially with Mandy being gone now. There is a need for somebody else to step up and be that glamour, that kind of that role, the mean girl, I guess, the pretty mean girl.
Mm-hmm.
The Carmella stuff was fine, I mean,
as long as he doesn't go fishing.
Yeah, just don't go fishing. What did you think of the return of Tiffany?
I was really excited to see her come back. I think she was kind of really catching some fire when she got hurt or went out or whatever she was doing, getting her assets improved or something, whatever you want to say. But yeah, like I said, Carmelo in the diner, kind of talking a trick, kind of writing down what he wants to accomplish, I guess. And he wants to be the NXT champion, obviously. But like I said, as long as they don't go fishing and be passive aggressive towards each other the whole time, I think I'll be all right with it. Very, very excited to see Tiffany back. I think she's going to play a big part in NXT for the next year or so. So I'm really excited to see her back.
Yeah, I think she'll be by the summer. I think she'll be in the title picture. I think, unless they introduce a secondary title for the women, which you never know, could happen because it could be something for them. I mean, I know some people are like, oh, too many titles, but I think here you can't have. There's so many women, it's like a secondary title, I think would be something to give somebody a chance to run with the title and defending them. Somebody like a Kiana or a Fallon, who I don't think will ever win the NXT women's title, but you give them a secondary title, it gives them something a little more to fight for, a little more gravitas, a little more bravada, I guess, for heels and things like that. So that's something.
Stakes always make things better. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, so then we got Carter and Chance outside walking there. They now are the longest reigning women's tag team champions in NXT ever. And then Tiffany passes them, refuses to talk. And we get the NXT title match here with Grayson Waller versus Braun Breaker. It is a solid match, good back and forth until the second rope breaks, causes Waller to fall to the floor, and he gets counted out. I didn't think we were going to get a definitive finish here anyway, after we had a definitive finish for the women's title not that long ago. I thought this was going to be, something was going to happen. It was going to be a schmoz, and this was a creative thing here with Grayson with the rope breaking, Grayson like not making it back in, and just, I love the way he like grabs onto the ropes and falls backwards, thinking, thought the ropes were going to help propel him into the ring. What were your thoughts on this match?
Yeah, once it was in the middle of the show, because I don't think I watched this episode live, because I think I had something going on that night. Obviously, I think I was busy or something to that effect. But I kind of was following on Twitter to kind of see how the show was going, what was going on. And then when I saw this match was in the middle of the episode, I was like, well, something schmozzy's probably going to happen, and I ended up being correct. I do think it's creative how they did it. Use the, Braun hits the spear into the turnbuckle at one point, it breaks, and while they're kind of still fighting, they fix it, or seem to fix it at some point. But obviously it breaks again. And so they didn't fix it well enough. But it's a way to get to another match. But, for this being like a special episode that has a name, it's kind of disappointing to see the title match end in a count out or DQ, or in this case a count out. But it's kind of disappointing to see when that kind of stuff happens. But I'm sure the next match will be a banger and it will be okay.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that next match. All right, so then we get a Roxanne Perez, talks about the Battle Royal coming up. We get a package about Drew Gulak's training with Hank. Then we get Apollo and Axiom backstage talking about Mello and Trick. We get Hank Walker versus Charlie Dempsey. And I'm watching this match, and I'm like, is is Hank Walker really this sloppy, or is this like on purpose? Dempsey is pretty rough on Hank, works the knee, and then he ends up winning by submission. Is he a level up guy, Hank Walker, before this, or is this legit like he's just starting out on TV here?
Yeah, he's a level up guy, but I don't really know if he was just a security guy that they thought had some size and maybe were like, hey, you want to try this thing out? But yeah, I think he's kind of clunky on purpose. I think they're gonna try and show his evolution as they go through this whole Gulak thing. Maybe Gulak will help him improve in the ring as part of the character. So maybe he came off as a little clunky and sloppy in this match. But Dempsey, obviously, like you said, kind of beats his ass for most of the match and ends up with the submission. So good win for Dempsey. But I think the clunkiness is somewhat purposeful, but I think he's also very new to it as well.
Yeah. All right. So then we get Sol Ruca and Alba Fyre backstage. They set the match for next week. Alba kind of like snaps at one point. I think they're leading to something here with Alba, and I'll talk about it once we get through the last episode. We get a Tyler Bate package. He's returning next week. What do they call him? The Strong Boy, right? Is that
big strong?
The big strong boy, which I really love. I pop for that. I didn't know that was what they called him. So then we get NXT Anonymous catching scripts, leaving a note in Oro Mensah's bag. And we get Jinder Mahal versus Julius Creed, where Jinder basically just kind of beats the crap out of him for the most part. I mean, it's an okay match. Jinder ends up winning with the Colossus. So, what were you making of this Sol Ruca Alba Fyre backstage? This backstage.
What a little Australian there.
I'm sorry. There's a lot of Aussies on these shows, so it just kind of like leads it to me. Anyway, sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah, it showed some kind of something snapped in Alba. I think she asked Sol if she wants to have the match that they never had because Isla kind of messed it up the last time, and she kind of is like, I kind of want to focus on the Battle Royal right now. I'm not really worried about what happens or what's next week. I'm focused on winning that. So and I think that kind of makes Alba mad because she wants to have the match with her because they never had it and wants to prove that she's obviously better than her. Maybe it is another direction, maybe to go back a little more heelish with her. But I'm not real sure. I kind of don't think her NXT life is too much longer. I think she's going to be on the main roster before too long. And then the Jinder Julius match was fine, like you said. Just a way to kind of establish Jinder on this NXT brand, give him a good win against somebody that obviously had a big win against JD in one of the previous weeks. So just a way to kind of establish him or reestablish him back in this NXT brand as kind of maybe the leader of this new Indian faction that they're building.
Mm-hmm. All right. Then we get Briggs and Jensen at Medical with Fallon and Kiana kind of split off into almost couples, so to speak. Then we get a Stevie Tanner promo. She's coming in from NXT UK. Now I'm not really familiar with her. I think she's got a good look, and is she her character? I'm guessing is like a YouTuber, so to speak. I don't know. I kind of like this girl. I think she's got she's already got looks like her character is pretty down. We'll have to see how she translates it to live. But in the packages, I think she's been good so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She's come off so far in these little packages that they've had. I don't think she was in NXT UK for very long. I think she kind of came in towards the end, kind of when they were, they didn't know that they were shutting down. But obviously, as it was kind of getting in its waning days and starting to, kind of merge with this version of NXT. So I don't really know a ton about her. I don't really remember much about her when she was there. I don't think she had this gimmick here. When she was there, but I'm interested in it. She's obviously like you said, kind of a YouTuber. She studies videos of other people wrestling and kind of comments on how their style is or what they're bad at or good at or whatever it may have. But I'm enjoying the little segment so far.
Yeah. All right, so then we get the 20 women battle royal for the number one contendership of the NXT Women's Championship. All right, let's go through some highlights. We get Cora is the first one eliminated by Lyra. Then we get Kiana saving Fallon. Sol does a Kofi-like handstand walk to avoid elimination. Then we get Cora running in later on to attack Lyra, and she gets thrown out again. We get some eliminations a little bit on the sloppy side at times, like Elektra and and a few eliminations we don't see happen during the commercial break, which I don't like. That when they do that, obviously it's a live show. Maybe this would have been good for a picture-in-picture moment if they had maybe produced it a little bit differently. Wendy Chu gets thrown out but lands on her pillow. Then Elektra knocks her off of it. Zoe eliminates Nikita and then gets eliminated by Sol, where Nikita again looks a bit sloppy, but Sol gets a good elimination here. Then we get Alba Fyre eliminating Sol Ruca. The final four is Toxic Attraction, JC and Gigi, Alba Fyre, and Lyra. Then we got Lyra Valkyria eliminating Alba with a head scissors over the ropes. Then we get Cora going in after Lyra and causing her to get eliminated. Toxic Attraction are the final two, and they have to fight each other. JC ends up throwing the first punch or kick. They end up eliminating each other, hitting the floor at the same time. The refs are there arguing. The refs check the replay, and they are both declared the winner. Shawn Michaels declares that we get something that we're going to have an NXT title cage match at Vengeance to close the show. So I did enjoy this battle royal, but we did get, like I said, there was some sloppy work in there. Obviously, the entire roster, most of the women's roster was in there. Sol Ruca got a lot of shine. I think she seems to be like one of the new favorite toys at the moment. I'm trying to make sense of Cora's character work. I did like the pillow spot with Wendy. Lyra gets some good shine. I was not expecting the Toxic Attraction thing, though. I did not see that coming, although they foreshadowed it earlier in the show. Give your thoughts on this battle royal.
Yeah, they definitely in an interview earlier had said that you were going to hear and the winners are Toxic Attraction because they weren't going to turn on each other, and they do a little bit, but obviously I don't know how unstaged that finish was. I think they were, they obviously tried to make it seem like they were fighting each other, but I think it kind of worked out so perfectly that they kind of ended up like that. Yeah, Sol was somebody that stood out in this for sure. Lyra making it to the end obviously proves that that she's somebody that they're going to continue to push forward. Lyons doesn't get her revenge on Stark here. Stark also throws her out. So Lyons just continues to kind of be a disappointment. I did like the pillow spot as well. I also liked how brutally Elektra kind of ripped the pillow out from under her feet, so she had to, she eventually fell onto the ground. I thought that was pretty brutal. I going with the double winner thing was interesting. But yeah, maybe not the most technically good battle royal, but I enjoyed it for the most part. It had enough stuff to keep you interested and enough to make it exciting. But like you said, it was sloppy in spots for sure.
But yeah, it was.
And I think a cage match is a great way to go for the Vengeance Day.
Yeah, I'm very excited for that because that is it's going to be a banger, I think. All right, so we get to our final episode that we're recapping tonight. Yeah, we're doing one more episode than we normally do, just to get kind of back on a solid record to drop schedule. So we're not talking about stuff like that two in the past at times going forward. All right, so this is the NXT episode from January 17th. We get a recap of New Year's Evil. Then we get Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams versus Apollo Crews and the Axiom to start the show. Trick comes out wearing a mask to kind of parody Axiom. It is a really fun, fast-paced match. Apollo ends up winning, pinning Melo for the win, which is not something you see very often. I dug this, and again, was not that I expect Melo to win every time. Apollo Crews is in that veteran going down there to, he's somebody that was brought up, way too quickly. I think we talked about that earlier. But I thought this was a fun way to open the show. What are your thoughts? Does he keeping up the streak we're kind of on here?
Yeah, I definitely think it keeps the streak going. Another solid opener. This might have been one of the weaker of the good openers that we've had, but it definitely still held up and was really good. Obviously, with Carmelo and Axiom and Apollo involved, you kind of expect that from them. I'm not surprised Axiom and Apollo won. I am surprised that they got the pin on Melo. I would have probably had Cruz pin Trick, but I think it's kind of also Cruz getting revenge for losing the previous week due to kind of chicanery and all that kind of stuff. So, another fast-paced, quick opener. It gives it plenty of time, and it kind of continues this thing going forward because it seems like Cruz kind of has a win over Carmelo, but Carmelo also has a win over him. So maybe they'll have another match, kind of a rubber match to finish this thing out, and maybe from there, Carmelo can kind of go towards the title picture a little bit more hardcore.
That's probably what I was surprised at, was that Melo took the pin and not Trick in this match. But like he said, you make a good point where they can, Apollo can kind of say, I pinned you, but Melo can go back saying it was a tag match, man. It wasn't a singles match. So there's definitely it adds to the story, which is really great. So we get Tony D and Stacks are walking on the bridge. They're leading you to believe that he's going to basically throw Stacks off the bridge, so to speak. Like that Stacks messed up, but then he ends up making Stacks the underboss, which is, I guess, a promotion for him, which goes to what we were saying earlier in this episode, where that they need to kind of add to this faction a little bit, I think, which you agree. Then we get a Tiffany Stratton interview where she couldn't get into the women's battle royal, but she's back and she's going to make some waves. And actually, just saw a promo. It's going to be her and Indy Hartwell next week. So, and then we get Toxic Attraction for an in-ring promo. They talk about the battle royal and their title match. We get Lyra Valkyria interrupting them, and then Toxic attacks Lyra. Roxanne ends up making the save. So, what are your thoughts on the D'Angelo family thing with Stacks getting, I guess, made the underboss, which is kind of being, I guess, made, so to speak, and then Tiffany Stratton kind of talking about where she was and what she's going to do.
Yeah, it was good to see Stacks get elevated in the family as maybe definitely now the permanent second in command for Tony. And it maybe implies that maybe he trusts Stacks to maybe recruit some more family members going forward. He gets his special new jacket that Tony got for him, so that was a special little present he gave him. Tiffany obviously shows that she wasn't super happy being out, but and she's also felt disrespected that she wasn't able to have her own locker room because she feels like she's a bigger star and deserves to have her own place and doesn't deserve to have to dress with all the other girls. And Indy kind of takes that to heart and kind of tells her to go dress on her own in a broom closet somewhere. But yeah, solid couple of promos here.
And we get Toxic Attraction as well, with setting up the main event for the night, basically, which will be Toxic Attraction against Lyra Valkyria and Roxanne Perez.
Yeah. It obviously shows that Toxic Attraction's together, and they're going to go after Roxanne together, and they're going to be co-champions, or they're going to be the new champions together. They're not going to turn on each other. They're going to go in as a duo, and they're going to take out Roxanne. But obviously, it was just to set up the tag match between Lyra, Roxanne, and them.
Okay. Then we get the Creeds training backstage. Ivy goes off on their lack of focus, which has kind of been the theme with her lately. Then we get another Stevie Turner package. She recaps and talks about the highlights of the women's battle royal. And then Alba Fyre versus Sol Ruca, which is a decent match. Isla Dawn shows up and distracts Alba, who walks into Sol hitting the Soul Sucker for the win, which is the Soul Seeker, sorry. Is it the Sucker or Soul Seeker or Soul Sucker? I can't remember.
It's a Soul Snatcher, actually.
Soul Snatcher. Oh God, these friggin' names. It's like let's throw it into the wheel here and see what comes out. And she hits it in for the first time on the NXT show She's only hit on Level Up till now. It was okay. It wasn't as crisp as the other two, and I think Alba kind of had to walk a bit into it to take the move. But I was okay with it. I worry about Sol though, because I think she's got this good finisher and she's athletic and all that, but I just worry that they're gonna push her too fast too soon. You know what I mean? Too. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I do think that they're buying into the finisher a little harder than maybe they should. It's a cool finisher. It's awesome. It's awesome to see her hit it. This was, like you said, out of the three that I've seen, this is definitely the wonkiest of the three for sure. I do think they're buying in a little too much to it, maybe pushing her a little harder than maybe her talent level is up to at this point. And maybe she'll just continue to improve and prove me wrong in that situation. I thought it was a solid match. I didn't think she looked out of place by any means. Obviously, this is a way to continue the Alba Isla situation. Maybe the next match will be the final one. We keep saying that. But we'll see where that goes. But it's a big win for Sol, getting a win on an established veteran that has been a champion in NXT UK. So interested to see where both of these. Obviously, Alba's headed towards another match with Isla, but hopefully they kind of, don't rush Sol just because she's a cool finisher and kind of is maybe a little more athletic than some of these other girls.
Yeah. Don't. She needs to be more than her finisher, and maybe somebody that can, here's the thing. It was kind of like where they were, not the finisher part, but the athletic part with Casey Catanzaro before she became, Katana Chance, where she was in there to do like her, what the hell is that competition show she was on?
Freaking Ninja Warrior.
She's doing her Ninja Warrior stuff. They'll have Sol in there just to do this other stuff, and ends up kind of impeding her progress or her overall progress. It's good in the moment. Like in other words, they need to think a little more long term with this girl than what the payoff is right now for her. There's more in there. They just need to give it time, and I hope they do. All right, so then we get a Dijak package, talks about Wes Lee and their match at Vengeance. We get a Grayson Waller interview. We get Gallus and Brings and Denton, both teams walking to the ring for their match. We get Alba has a ref by the bat, and Carter and Chance come. They try to talk her out of it. She then challenges them to an NXT Tag Team Title match. She doesn't have a partner for next week. Okay, so here's the thing. Do you have anything on the Dijak package or the Grayson Waller interview at all before we talk about this? I have a point on the Alba thing here.
No, not much. Just Dijak obviously showing what he's headed towards. He wants to be the North American champion. He's going to do whatever it takes to take out Wes Lee. And then, Grayson is always a good interview. So interested to always hear him talk about where he's headed next. Obviously, it's the cage match for the NXT title, so looking forward to that one when we get to it. But that's pretty much all I have thoughts on it.
So here's what I'm thinking with Alba. Now, this is we're recording this on Monday night. The show's on Tuesday night, so we don't know what's going to happen yet. And by the time we record next, this will have been obviously like 4 weeks ago. But what I think is happening here is that she's going to be in this match without a partner, and Isla Dawn's going to show up to be her partner, because I think the red dust that was blown in her face changed her. Starts bringing like her kind of her bad side out, her evil side out, and I think they become. I don't know if it'll be like the reluctant tag partner champion things, or it'll just be maybe Alba's kind of like under her spell. Because I'm starting to a little bit retract on Alba going to the main roster now, because I think if they're going to do something with Isla kind of being this, I don't know, this witch, I guess, with powers over people, Alba could be the first one that she puts a spell on, so to speak. I don't know. Is that crazy for me to think here? This could happen.
No, I definitely could see it happening. I mean, obviously, with her not having a partner, it's obviously going to either be, it's going to be something like you said, or maybe she picked Sol because they had a good match together and she beat her. But I definitely think you have a good idea with going forward with her and Isla being a team. Maybe she can have Alba in a trance for the most part, with the whole witchcraft and stuff that she has going. So I could definitely see your scenario playing out, and that's probably the most likely way to go, and a good way to go for sure.
Yeah, I could see something like Sol comes up to her like early in the show and says, "Hey, you need a tag partner. You can't do it alone." And at first Alba could be okay, and then all of a sudden maybe she'll snap and and hit her or something like that, and then Sol won't be cleared to compete or something. Maybe, I don't know. That could add another layer to it. Then we get Briggs and Jensen versus Gallus. This was a good physical match. We get Jensen taking a backdrop on the Explodes 4. Fallon calls for the medical, and then Kiana comes out to help out with Jensen. Briggs has to go it alone, which has not been the first time. Whenever they've had something like this happen, it's usually is Jensen the one that gets taken out, and Briggs does the lion's share of the work for the team. And he goes for it, but he ends up losing to Gallus. Yeah, I thought this was a nice, hard-hitting match. I mean, these guys, put it on, a decent show. They're all have good size to them, and the right team went over for now. Like, I don't know what the ceiling for Briggs and Jensen is here. They're definitely, I don't think, ready for prime time, so to speak, yet. But I do like them as a team, and I hope they keep them together for a bit. But Gallus going over was the right choice here. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Gallus is definitely the team to go over at this point. They're obviously building towards a title match with the New Day after winning the Gauntlet the previous week, or 2 weeks ago, whenever that happened. But yeah, another good showing by Briggs and Jensen. Obviously, is pushing the whole tension with Fallon and Kiana and Briggs and Brooks. But yeah, just a solid match. Briggs and Jensen are two big guys. Gallus are two big guys. So good Hoss Fest is always fun to see on a show like this. So definitely good stuff.
Yeah. So then we get Chase U backstage. Andre has Duke on tape talking shit about him, basically. We get Brooks Jensen in medical with Briggs. Fallon shows up and gives Jensen crap about Kiana. And we get Valentina Feroz versus Thea Hale with this was a fun little matchup. Elektra comes out and tries to gets in Valentina's corner, tries to give her the brass knuckles, but she refuses to use them. Thea then gets the win here, and it's her first actually on TV. So I like that they're continuing this story forward. We get the Chase U stuff earlier on, which was fine. It's one of those, like we talked about already. It's like let's where are we going here, guys? Let's land this plane soon. A little more in the whole Briggs and Jensen and Fallon and Kiana thing. This for us, Thea match was fine. It was a couple of girls who are a little green on the side, but it was nice to see Thea get her first win, because Valentina, obviously they're building to something with her and Elektra, so I'm curious to see the direction that's going to go in. Any thoughts there?
Yeah, this was all to push the Elektra Valentina possible relationship. Valentina obviously being hesitant in this situation, and that kind of allowed the opportunity for Thea to get her first win, which was a good way to go as well. Kind of get her some momentum going. But obviously, I think this is going to be an ongoing thing where Valentina continues to not really want or want to cheat or want Elektra's help, but maybe eventually she'll give into it because she's obviously constantly losing these matches that maybe she shouldn't. But definitely interesting for both girls going forward.
Yeah. All right. So then we get Carmelo and Trick, who are leaving the building. Apollo basically comes out and talks shit to them. Then we get a little moment where the room kind of comes down for a second, which was, I wouldn't say surprising, but maybe a little unexpected, where they announced the passing of Jay Briscoe, who unfortunately passed away in a car accident that he had with his family. I am not all that familiar with Jay Briscoe. I've only seen maybe a couple of his matches in Ring of Honor. It is a sad moment. The guy had, three children. His two daughters are both in the hospital, recovering from some pretty bad injuries. Our condolences go out to them and the family. I know this hit a lot of our the Place to Be Nation people hard, because they know of Jay and his work, and of course, again, 38 years old, way too young, very tragic. He was, from what everybody says, a good guy backstage, well respected. Do you have anything you want to add real quick about Jay Briscoe, or how familiar you are with him and his work?
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with a lot of Ring of Honor stuff. There was a good portion of time where I was watching it pretty consistently. They're a great tag team. He was a great world champion at points too. He kind of broke out on his own. I think Mark got hurt at one point, and they kind of started pushing him as a singles, and he got over. But yeah, all you hear is he's a great guy, great father, great family man. Always cared about his kids and made sure he was there for anything big that they had going on. Always helped them out and with life and all that good stuff. Sad to see him pass in such a tragic way. I think from all things I've heard, the girls are doing better. They're obviously recuperating from their injuries. But I thought this was a good, classy move from WWE because, he's not somebody that's ever worked there. I think maybe only once they really considered going to WWE because they kind of were grassroots and ROH. They were there at the beginning, so that was always home to them, and they never really wanted to turn their back on ROH, so they always kind of stuck with that. But I thought it was a classy move by WWE to even mention it because it's not somebody that's ever really worked for them, but he was obviously important to the wrestling community as a whole.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up. It's just because it was, it was a nice moment, and it actually led to some booking changes on the fly too. They were actually going to do a segment that had to do with a funeral, so they scrapped that. So that was really good thinking on them. Really, sensitive and really, didn't want to come off as, it was quick thinking by them. So obviously, they've had bad experiences with not reacting or reacting too fast to things, and this was a good job by them. So hats off to Shawn, Hunter, and everybody else. All right, so then we get find my notes here. Where was I? Okay, so Elektra, then talks to Valentina backstage, and then we get the New Day coming out. They announced that they're done with Pretty Deadly. Announced that they will be facing Gallus at Vengeance Day, and Pretty Deadly comes out, and they're fed up. Gallus then comes out, and all three teams basically start fighting. It becomes a Donnybrook. So if you notice, the New Day, the way they were dressed was like in black or in white. So that was going to be, it was supposed to be like the funeral of Pretty Deadly or something like that was the thing. So I guess they really didn't have time to change their clothes, but obviously they did do some quick thinking, and having guys like Xavier and Kofi going out there, experienced, especially Xavier, who is so good on the microphone, to kind of carry that segment, in terms of to improv it a little bit. But I'm really looking forward to this match, and I think Gallus might be taking it. What do you think?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and it was good to see that they kind of changed it on the fly. I think it was, like you said, it was supposed to be a funeral to Pretty Deadly's number one contendership or their rematch clause or whatever it was. That they didn't pass any of the tests that New Day presented them, so they were going to say their chances of getting another shot were pretty much dead. But obviously, it was a good idea to change it on the fly. Pretty forward thinking of them. Another good move by the NXT crew. But I thought the segment was pretty good. The whole brawl was pretty good. I think obviously this is going to get turned into a triple threat tag match, so it'll involve all three teams once we get to Vengeance Day. So, but I could definitely see Gallus taking it. I definitely think that could be a different direction. Maybe they let the New Day retain here, and maybe Gallus eventually gets it at the next PLE. But definitely good to see it get set up here.
Yeah. All right. So then we get a Roxanne and Lyra interview with Big Body Javi interrupts, and he is definitely not welcome by them. And then we get a Braun Breaker interview, and we get Javi versus Tyler Bate with Tyler's return. He wins, with a little bit of a sloppy finish, but it was nice to see the big strong boy, right? Is that what you said?
Yeah, that big strong boy.
yeah. What do you think of Tyler Bates' return here?
Yeah, it got pretty slap ass at the end. I won't lie. The Tyler Driver 98 or something. I think he calls it something to that effect. Was a little bit botched. Javi almost landed on his head, and I'm gonna blame it mostly on Javi. I think he's pretty green, as all things considered. I can't believe I'm bashing Big Body Javi, but Tyler's Tyler's been out of the ring for a little bit too, so maybe he was just feeling a little rusty. But that definitely solid match. But that end segment was pretty sloppy, and seemed like it could have ended a little bit more badly for Javier if he had landed a little differently. But definitely not the best return. But so I'm happy to see the big strong boy back for sure.
Yeah, he's a breath of fresh air, I think. We get Chase U celebrating with Thea on her first ever win. We get Fallon apologizing to Brooks Jensen, says that she will, partner with Kiana in a tag match. And we get the announced that is a triple threat match for the men's tag titles at Vengeance. Then we get our main event, which is Roxanne Perez and Lyra Valkyria versus Toxic Attraction. The match was okay. It had its moments. Roxanne wins with pop rocks on Gigi after JC kicks her in the face by mistake. So, of course, it's going to lead to what you think is there dissension among Toxic Attraction kind of thing. I mean, the match was okay. I didn't love it, didn't hate it. It did the job that I was supposed to do. I do love pop rocks as a finisher. I think it fits her so well, and she does hit it really good. So I do like that. And what do you think of the main event here?
Yeah, definitely not our strongest main event, but I think at the same time it was a solid contest to end the show, end our little stretch of episodes here. Roxanne gets the win, and the story was really JC and Gigi possibly having some dissension heading into the triple threat where they're supposedly going to work together to make sure one of them walks out the champion or maybe even champion together. But it's obviously just to push that little story and dissension forward with how the finish happened. But solid match, nothing too crazy special. But Pop Rocks is always good to see. It's a pretty cool move. So solid last match.
All right, cool. All right, so at the end of these 5 episodes, let's do a little. Before I have a few questions. Some of them we've touched on already, but stock up. Who do we have for stock up, Logan, this month here?
I mean, Grayson Waller's the obvious layup answer. He had a great month, like you said. He was kind of the MVP of the episodes. He continuously tried to outsmart and did outsmart Braun for the most part. Except maybe that last week where they had the Grayson Waller effect where Braun ended up kind of overpowering him. But he's obviously one of the top choices.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to say Schism is definitely on the way up, even though Joe Gacy did lose to Kofi. I think their stock is up. I think they're really coming into their own.
For sure.
I'll throw Axiom up there actually as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had a couple of good more showings. like we said, when they may be pushing her a little too fast, but Sol Ruca definitely got that big win over Alba, so I would put her up there for sure.
Yeah, Lyra Valkyra as well. I put her up there out of the gate.
Gallus.
Gallus. Yes, that was my other one. All right, so stock down. Who we have the stock down on? I mean, obviously, I think we both could say Nikita Lyons is up there in that. Anybody else we got?
Yeah, Nikita for sure. Nofe, Blade, and Odyssey for sure. I hate to pick on them, but they're definitely trending downwards. Andy Hartwell was another one. She lost that match to Elektra pretty convincingly, so I would put her in there for sure.
Maybe the Creeds. I know Julius did get the big win over JD McDonough, but in this Indus Sher thing, they're really not coming up on the positive side here. And I don't know. I don't know what they're doing with Cora. That's the other thing too.
I don't
Cora's
know another one.
Where I would kind of put her here. All right. So what do we know about Vengeance so far? We know we got Braun and Grayson Waller. I think we're getting a title change. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Grayson definitely takes it. I think it's set up that way with the cage match, because obviously Waller can kind of escape and win the title without actually even pinning Braun. Maybe Braun does a spear into the side of the cage, and Waller just happens to fall out or something like that. I definitely see it kind of being obviously not schmozzy because it's a steel cage match and it doesn't have DQs or countouts, but he's gonna win in a not convincing fashion. Braun's gonna pretty much dominate him, but he's gonna sneak one out somehow with the cage match stipulation.
He doesn't. Grayson doesn't have to win clean. That's the thing about the cage match. It doesn't have to be like a clean pin in the middle of the ring. It's something could aid him, whether it's the cage, whether it's some kind of interference, whether it's a weapon, who knows? But yeah, he doesn't need to win it clean, which I think is what leads to that. So the women's title, I don't think there's going to be a title change there, but I do think this is where, if not on this show, on the next show, we maybe get a new addition to Toxic Attraction to kind of pick them up off the ground, because after they lose, I don't know who's taking the pin in it. My guess is going to be JC, since Gigi just took a pin. And I think we get Chelsea Green showing up to take over the lead of Toxic Attraction. There's also rumors, we'll talk about the Rumble in a minute, but that she could also be a surprise entrant in the Rumble. So I think they can do both, and it still works. If she appears in the Rumble and then we see her again as showing up at Vengeance or the NXT show after. What do you think on the women's title?
Yeah, I think that Roxanne obviously retains. She's pretty fresh champ, so I don't think she's going to lose it to either of these girls this quickly. I think it's obviously she's going to outsmart them somehow. I kind of agree. I think JC probably takes the pin just because Gigi did the honors in the tag match. But I do think you're right. I do think somebody emerges as the new leader, or at least the new part of Toxic Attraction, kind of to take Mandy's spot. Chelsea's probably a good option, but we'll see who it ends up being. But I definitely think that's what you get there for sure.
They haven't announced a women's tag match, but I think if Alba and her whatever partner does win the titles next week, that we get a rematch on that card, and I think there won't be a title change there if that does come to fruition. What else do we have? The tag titles. I think Gallus is going to take it. Pretty Deadly's had their run with the belts. I think Pretty Deadly is a team that is going to show up by the Raw after Nitro. The Raw after Mania. I don't know why I had Nitro on the brain, but I think by then I think they're going to be on the main roster. What do you think is going to happen in this tag match?
I think New Day will retain here. I think they'll keep it going with Gallus. I think they'll pin Pretty Deadly here. Kind of finish that whole thing with them. I think they'll eventually face Gallus at maybe Stand and Deliver Mania, like around Mania, and then that's where Gallus wins the belts from him. I definitely think Gallus is where they're going to go with these going forward, but I think it may be maybe not in this setting. Just to get them kind of one-on-one. I think that'll be when it eventually happens.
Okay. Yeah. Did I miss anything? Is there anything else been announced so far? Or?
Wesley Dijak is the only.
Oh yeah, Wesley
thing.
Dijak. What do you think? Title change?
Yeah, I think Dijak definitely takes it. And there could, if you change the NXT title, I could see them maybe letting Wes retain once, but I think Dijak's definitely the guy to take the belt from him at some point. But I would do it here. What Wes can be good and kind of charismatic without the belt. And I think he's been good as a champion so far, but I think Dijak's a guy that they're really behind, and they'll kind of end up with him being the champion.
All right. Very good. All right. So I just have a couple questions before we call it a night. We kind of mentioned a couple of these earlier, like what's up with Veer. We said he's probably got some kind of a concussion issue, which I didn't know. I knew it probably was some kind of injury, but I wasn't sure. How long is the New Day going to be in NXT, you think? You think they're gone by Mania?
Yeah, I think they lose the titles at that Mania takeover premium live event, whatever you want to call it, Stand and Deliver. I think they lose the belts to either Gallus or maybe at that point Indus Sher will be healthy and they could take it from there. But I definitely think they'll stay around till around Mania, but then they'll kind of split off after that for sure.
Mm-hmm. All right, we talked about Sol Ruca being pushed a little too quickly. Is JD McDonough done? Maybe a surprise Rumble entrant. I don't know if they want to use a surprise with him. He may be a guy that would just show up kind of thing. Maybe like in an open challenge or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, he could be a U.S. Open Challenge kind of guy, but I think he's going to hang around. I just think maybe they didn't have something super for him in this stretch of shows.
Okay. Nikia Lyons is too sloppy. Maybe that's why she's losing to Zoe in this feud so far. She hasn't gotten really anything over. Possibly.
Yeah, I think she needs to tighten a few things up. I mean, maybe Scott Shiflett prefers her sloppy. Who knows? But
we know he likes the sloppy.
But she could use some improvement. I think she'll come around, but maybe she just had a few rough weeks. But I think they definitely need to book her better and maybe give her a few wins, because I think I think if she had beaten Zoe, it would have given her a little bit of momentum. But I think she's just kind of muddled and just isn't really going in a positive direction because of that.
All right. All right. Who will Alba's tag partner? We said possibilities. The top leading candidates could be Isla Dawn or Sol Ruca. How bad are Blade and Inofi? Like, is there? Can these guys turn it around? Like, do you think that will, a lot of people at NXT start off like meh, like Street Profits. Street Profits were meh when they first started, but they started working together. D'Angelo is one of those guys that was at NXT forever. Finally found a groove and a tag partner, and they started getting over. Will these guys ever kind of click with it? Like, I don't even think they're that over with the crowd.
Yeah, Blade's just real lanky and kind of scrawny. He doesn't have much to him. I don't think he's ever going to elevate much past a certain point. I think Inofe probably has some legs. He's kind of a little bit bulkier, a little bit more skilled in the ring, I'll say. So maybe if they eventually do a split off, maybe he can emerge and be a North American title kind of guy. But I think Blade's pretty hopeless, unfortunately.
Yeah. Then we got NXT Anonymous. Probably be a little while before we find out what's going on there. I don't think we'll find out by our next record, but it could be wrong. This depends on the kind of stuff it's revealing. If it's kind of worth it to keep it going. Like it's like, oh, who cares about that? Who cares? That kind of thing. All right, and then lastly, since the Rumble is this week, who from NXT could be in the Rumble. Let's start with the men. I only have 3 names on my list, and you're probably going to guess all 3, but I will let you to go ahead with who do you think from NXT on the men's side could be in the Rumble?
I think we definitely get Braun and Carmelo for sure, and I could even see Waller coming up and showing up as well. But those are really the only, maybe, like we've mentioned McDonough, maybe McDonough, but I don't really think they want to waste a spot on somebody like him that I don't think they're going to take seriously in that kind of match anyway. So I would say it's definitely Waller, Hayes, Breaker, if they're going to be more than one.
Yeah, I think it's 1, maybe 2 at the most. I think definitely Braun's going to be in there. So
because he'll still be champion at the point, even if he loses it at Vengeance Day, he'll still be champ going into Rumble.
Which they've had the NXT champion in the Rumble before, so
exactly,
it does happen. They could also do something where tomorrow night, I don't know if they would have announced it by now, like for a spot, which I think they've done. They may have done before, I think. I'm trying to think back.
Yeah, they've done like a
that's how Bo Dallas got in the Rumble. Yeah,
that's right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I actually just watched that. In my rewind. All right, on the women's side, there's a bunch of names that could possibly. First of all, either of Toxic Attraction could show up. I don't think it could be both. I mean, definitely if Mandy was still around, definitely Mandy would have been in the Rumble, I think.
Mm-hmm.
What about you? You got a name?
Yeah, I mean, I think if one Toxic Attraction girl is going to be in it, I think both of them end up in it somehow. Roxanne, I think it would just be good to use the champions, you know, like Braun and her, kind of to promote the NXT brand, just to have them in there as, you know, kind of a surprise. Kind of show a little bit of fire in the match and see if they have something with them, maybe as they perform into that match. But Roxanne, Toxic Attraction, maybe Alba. But with the new tag team thing that we kind of came up with, I don't know if Alba's one of those that's going to go up to the main roster anytime soon. But she's an experienced person that I could see being in it.
Yeah, I was leaning towards her, but now not so much. Cora Jade, I think.
Yeah,
could make an appearance. She could be one of those, you know, goes in there and has like a fun elimination kind of spot. Zoe maybe, although that wouldn't pop me at all. Indy Hartwell could get one, or even a Wendy Chu. I think Wendy could be like a comedy spot. Like, you know, I don't think Sol is going to be there. I don't think she's ready for it. Mm-hmm. You know, doing those handstands or whatever she does is fine in front of the performance center crowd, you know, the whatever they call it these days, but to the Rumble, you know, in San Antonio in front of that huge crowd, that huge spot, I don't think she's ready for it. I don't think it's a recipe for success. I mean, I could be wrong, but I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, I mean, just for the cool spot, I think I could see him doing it, but I definitely agree with you. I think she would get super starstruck in that situation, and maybe if she tried to do one of those cool things, she may screw up because she's a little more nervous because she's in a way bigger crowd than she's used to in the Capitol Wrestling Center, I think is what they still call it. Yeah. But being in the Alamo Dome, I think she might get a little overwhelmed. But maybe for the cool spot, but I doubt it.
Yeah, I mean, are we done with those though? I mean, Kofi has done it every kind of way possible. Naomi has done it. Sol has done it once in a row. I mean, is that still something that's gonna pop us, like that we want to see? What else could possibly happen, right? Is that something that we need to see every year at the Rumble? Because what was it? Was it last year? I think Kofi slip in one of the more recent ones?
Yeah, I think it was last year. He got like knocked from the top rope and he was trying to like jump to the barricade and he slipped on the barricade and like his feet hit the ground. So they, you know, said he was out. So I mean, it just seems to be kind of a staple at this point, but who knows? I mean, I think they'll probably still keep doing it, but there's not much you can like There's not much different that you can do at this point. Like, I mean, I think they could probably pull out something, but I just feel like he's kind of done everything. He's done the like chair pogo stick thing. He's done the handstand thing. He's done the even Morrison did the like little Spider-Man thing over onto the barricade and jumped back over. So I mean, I just don't know how much more you can build on it. So I think it's a spot that maybe shouldn't be around too much longer, but I'm sure they'll keep going to it because that's just who they are.
All right, cool. All right, so I think we covered everything. It was a lot. Appreciate everybody listening and sticking with us for a little bit lengthier show this time, but we will be doing 4 shows pretty much every episode going forward. If there's a PLE, we'll have it in there as well. And yeah, it's fun. Glad to be back here in the new year, recording this show with Logan, and a lot to look forward to this year. I think it's going to be fun. We'll do some kind of we've done enough tonight, so I think we'll do some kind of year predictions, like what we think could happen this year, like who would have a title, who could be up at the main roster at certain points. We'll do kind of those just on our February show to just see what comes to fruition, so to speak. All right. So before we go, Logan, do you have anything that you'd like to point people to? Any recent pods or social medias?
YouTube Roulette. We just recorded an episode of that. I think it came out last week, so check that out. Chicken Salad came out this past weekend. We did Rumble 94. Highway to the Impact Zone, we just recorded the next episode of that this past Friday as of this recording, and I think it comes out later this week. So check that out again. We covered Against All Odds 2006, and then the 7 Months of Danger pod, we will be recording the next episode of that tomorrow night as of this recording. So I may have a few other pods coming down the pipeline, but I'll keep those in my back pocket for right now. But I'll just say I may have something new coming down.
All right, very cool. Looking forward to it. So for me on this feed, not that much outside of this pod. I do have 2 shows that may make returns at some point. That's Evolution and Great Debate. Wrestling Edition, there is talk of making Mount Rushmore Wrestling Edition coming back with a new host, so stay tuned for that if that does come to be, as well as check out Streaming the Classics, which are pod versions of Stream Lounge live watches for wrestling over there. So we'll probably have a couple of those every month, but there will be a bunch of wrestling streams going over on there. So just keep an eye out to the social medias, the Facebook group. Go on there and follow people. I'm on there as Blockbuster Rewatch, as well as Laugh in Theater. And a lot of people are doing them, and we're going to tend to do it like based on themes. So in January, of course, we did a lot of Royal Rumble watches. I'm not sure what's going to be on tap for February, maybe some Elimination Chamber watches. And definitely once we get closer into to Mania season, there's going to be a lot of WrestleMania live watches on there. And those are a lot of fun, guys. You come on there, you have a couple of people, 2, 3, 4, watching the show, discussing it on camera, and then we have a chat room where it's a very interactive platform. So definitely do check that out. That is streamlounge.io. Then over on my primary home, which is the Place to Be Nation Pop Experience, I have lots of pods dropping all the time. Part of the Video Jukebox Song of the Day, which is a short pod blast to start your day every weekday. It's usually myself or Steve Riddle or Keith Langston. We do have special drop-ins here and there, so check those out. A bunch of my regular pods are going into a release. Some are monthly, some are bi-monthly. But some that I want to direct you to are Traders of the Lost Arcs, which is myself, Tim Capel, Scott Shiflett, and Sean Kidd, where we talk about a comics arc every month. The last episode was a G.I. Joe and the Transformers comics arc from 1987. Probably the only comic I ever read in my life going into this podcast, so they threw me a bone. The next one will be an Avengers theme, that arc that Sean has picked out. Also, my newest show, Cartoons of Our Youth, the first episode dropped. That was with Sean Kidd. We talked about G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero. We both marked out big time the second episode coming soon. I'm not sure when we'll record, but Tim Capel will be my guest, and we will be discussing and watching episodes of Gargoyles, which is something I've actually never watched. That's Tim's favorite cartoon, so we will check that out. And Logan, we'll have to have you on there at some point talking about your favorite cartoon, which I can't wait to learn what that is. Should be fun. Also, the Muppet Pod will be back. The Pop Goes Classics Disney, Laughing Theater. We're talking about bringing back Blockbuster Rewind. Lots of fun shows that I have the pleasure to be a part with. Well, often with co-hosts. And check me out on Stream Lounge pretty much every Wednesday night, alternating between Blockbuster Rewatch, which right now I am almost finished. I'm pretty much done with the MCU. I will be doing Wakanda Forever with Nate Milton at some point in February. But once I get through a bunch of blockbusters like Batman, I believe I'm doing Terminator 2 as well. I'm trying to figure out what else I have on the docket. But I will be going into the Skywalker saga. So starting Star Wars all the way from Episode 4 in theatrical release order. Make sure you check out the Place to Be Facebook group and the Facebook page. And we have our big pop year stretch project. It is Greatest Pop Culture TV Comedies. So the rules will be announced very soon. And you have until July 31st to submit your list, and we will reveal the results starting Labor Day this year. So lots of time, guys, and keep an eye out for the Stretch Project, the new one to be announced for this year. But in the meantime, every Friday at noon on PlayStation.com, you are getting GWWE reveals each and every week until the entire list, everybody that was voted for, is revealed. So check that out. So that's going to bring an end to this episode of Who's Next. I want to thank my co-host. So on behalf of the Mud Pie, Logan Crosland, I am Andy Atherton. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next month on Who's Next.